Students, I hope you are all doing well. You are welcome to this course, ATU 105, titled Numeracy Skills 1. In this course, I will be your facilitator. My name is Eunice Frimpong, and I'll be staying with you throughout this course in the whole of the semester. Now let us look at the course outline for this semester. So generally, this course is to equip you with knowledge and skills that will be required to effectively manage and respond to math demands of diverse situations. Okay, so we're looking at a number of courses, a number of topics, and then it will also have some subtopics under them. So the course has been divided into 6 sections. Section 1, we'll be looking at performing basic math operations on numbers and variables. Part 2, we'll be solving equations involving 1 and 2 variables. And in part 3, we'll compute rates and proportions and make approximations. In part 4, we will perform or solve problems using inductive and deductive reasoning, drawing valid conclusions from statements and truth tables. And in part 5, we will perform or solve problems involving sets using Venn diagrams. And in part 6, this will run through all the first 5 parts. We will use calculator or Excel to apply to any of the previous 5 sections where necessary and possible. So let's look at the parts in detail. Now in part 1, we will perform basic math operations on numbers and variables. So we're breaking down into basic operations like addition and subtraction of numbers and algebraic expressions, and then multiplication and division of numbers and algebraic expressions. We will also look at the change of subject of a relationship for a formula. So you may have a formula or a relationship, may be asked, find A, or make B the subject, or make Y the subject. Whatever you are asked to do, when we get there, we will appreciate what I am describing now. In part 2, we will solve equations involving 1 and 2 variables. So first of all, we understand what the word variable means. And then we will have equations that involve just 1 variable, and there are equations that involve 2 variables. So we will identify the degree of an equation and solve the corresponding equation. So every equation also has a degree, okay? We will solve linear equations in 1 unknown variable, and we will solve simultaneous equations. That's equations that are presented at the same time in 2 unknown variables using algebra. So we may use that. There are 2 very popular methods, which is the substitution method and the elimination method. We wouldn't be looking at the graphical method, no. We would just use these 2, and we will also explore the use of the calculator to perform simultaneous equations. We'll move on to apply the principles we have learned in this session, the second session, to solve real-world problems. So we'll have story problems, and I try to use the principles we have learned so far to solve the real-world problems. We will also consider quadratic equations, that is equations that have a degree of 2, using various methods, or like factorization, quadratic formula, and other methods that we may look at. We will try and explore the use of a calculator to solve quadratic equations. The third part will lead us to look at or to compute rates and proportions and make approximations. So we want to compute measures such as ratios, proportions, percentages, and rates. And we'll also apply the concepts of these rates we will learn to solve problems related to simple and compound interest. We will then move on to the fourth part, At this part, we perform or solve problems using inductive and deductive reasoning, and we'll draw valid conclusions from statements and truth tables. So we would state types of statements that they are, we'll draw truth tables, and we'll state and apply the laws of operations governing statements, and we'll comment on the validity or otherwise of statements. Now, the fifth and final session leads us to learn the concept of Venn diagrams or solving problems using sets and Venn diagrams. Okay, so we'll be solving problems that involve sets with the use of the tool or the mathematical tool called Venn diagrams. So the first point is we identify and list the various types of sets, and then we'll perform operations on sets such as complement, intersection, the union, and then we'll move on to explain properties of sets. We have commutative property, associative, distributive, and then we'll identify and use a law that is very popular in studying sets, known as the De Morgan's laws. And then we will begin in practice. We'll try to solve 2 set problems and then 3 set problems. So the set part, as I mentioned earlier, will involve applying using the calculator or the Excel to apply to any of these 5 sections where necessary in the course of our study. So this will be what we'll be looking at in this course for this semester. I hope you will be committed so you have a good learning experience together. Thank you.